It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions.
Touchdown, San Diego!
Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Monday? We do. From the DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, we welcome you to Hacksaw's Headlines, our Monday bonus podcast. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host, the venerable John Riley. We welcome you to our podcast. Our Monday bonus podcast, which covers a ton of topics on the table, is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. There are 9 stores to serve you in San Diego. You've got projects. Your best friend is DIXIELINE Lumber. And by North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido for the summer, offering free vision test. Give them a call, set up an appointment, tell them Hacksaw sent you, thank them for being part of our podcast. John Riley is normally out in left field when we do the Monday bonus podcast, but in my driveway today, it was 111 degrees on the hot cement. We elected to let you come into the air-conditioned studios rather than express your left field opinions from left field. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. I'm staying cool, Lee. I mean, there's a lot going on in the world of sports.
We got a lot of business to do first before we put topics on the table. Item number 1, X marks the spot. Everybody that follows us on live stream, please follow us on X, a.k.a. Twitter. Just hit the button. Follow me at Hacksaw1090, at Hacksaw1090. We're trying to push my all-star team to 10,000 followers. We're close. We need you to push us over the top. Item number 2. Become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. It's simple. Get on our email list. Just go to my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. There's a big orange box on the right-hand side. Fill it out. You'll get notices of all the unique and extra bonus things we're offering the people who are part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. And then the third thing and the most important thing, beyond what we do with the podcast, is what John created, Fans Forum. Man, we get a lot of people there. John, we want people to subscribe to the podcast and then join us live in Fans Forum. Explain how it works.
Yeah, so you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts on all the audio-only platforms, plus on YouTube, where we're putting content out almost every day of the week. And if you want to get involved in Fans Forum, just type in your comment or question for Hacksaw in the live chat on Facebook, X, or on YouTube, and we'll get you involved in Fans Forum at the conclusion of Hacksaw's Headlines.
And when you join us in the chat box in Fans Forum, clear, concise, right to the point, cut through all the bull crap. Just ask a question or make a statement. Don't send 20 items in the chat box because it'll clog us up. Just show us your best work. Fans Forum right at the end of the podcast. That's business. John, let's talk sports. And I know we're going to hit a few hot buttons with this topic on the table.
Yeah, the Padres are at the midseason report. How do you think they're doing, Lee?
Padres report card. I wrote about it in my One Man's Opinion column. It's on my website. Every player, the manager, the front office, I rated them. Go read my column when we're done with this podcast, and you can tell me whether you agree or disagree. I gave 5 A marks to Padres. 12 guys got Bs. I gave 9 C grades, and sadly I had to give out 3 Ds along the way. Let's start with where they are. They're 41-41. As we do the midseason report card, the overall grade point average, I can identify. I know it's a little bit less than you got UCSD. 2.71 is the grade point for the entire Padre roster and the Padre organization. I gave a letter grade of A to Luis Arraez, to Robert Suarez, to having a career season like Profar, to the Rookie of the Year candidate Jackson Merrill, and I gave it to Matt Waldron. Those guys got my letter grades of A. I'd hate to think where they'd be without Waldron in the rotation, and Merrill has pushed himself almost to the forefront as the lead Rookie of the Year candidate. In terms of the B, I give Jay Cronenworth because his value is so unique and so diverse. He gets a B. I felt bad for Machado. He's dinged. He's doing as much as he can. Dinged. I gave him a B. Tatis has shown flashes of being what he used to be, but he's banged up. I gave him a B. I gave the kid Michael King a B. I gave Dylan Cease a B to start. Almost gave him a C because his last 8 starts have just been absolutely miserable, but I wound up giving him a B. Matsui at times a little bit overwhelmed. I gave him a B. Higashioka, I gave him a B as the backup catcher. And you're probably going to argue with me on this, but I gave A.J. Preller a B, and I gave Mike Schilt a B. Letter grade C. Ha-Seong Kim is just not the same shortstop right now through the first half of the season. He got a C. Darvish, because of age and injury, gets a C. Peralta has just not contributed. I expected more out of Morion by this time of his career. I gave him a C. Sadly, I gave Bogaerts a C because he was having a lousy season before he got hurt. Letter grade D. It's unfair of me to do this, but I based it on what you contributed the first half of the season. Joe Musgrove has to get a D because he's had 5 injuries in 14 months. I don't know who Tom Cosgrove is. Journeyman reliever. I gave him a D. And De Los Santos. Yeah, he's got stuff, but he's given up 9 home runs. Can you trust him? I gave him a D. I don't give anybody an F along the way. So those are my grades for the Padres. This guy's come in from left field, refreshed. It's not 111 degrees inside the studio like it is in my driveway. So, John, argue with me, agree with me, disagree with me, and I want people to go to the fans forum on this letter grade. Your reaction to my midseason report card.
I think you're too generously. I think, give him Machado a B. I mean, the guy has not performed to Machado's standards. He's not even performed to the standards that we would expect for a starting third baseman in the league. I mean, because, he's been hurt. I mean, I would give him a C. Matsui, a B? Matsui has been shaky. Higashioka, a B? Come on. That's the catching position. Both Campusano and Higashioka are Ds. But don't you love Matt Waldron getting an A, the number 5 starter?
And the kid, Jackson Merrill, doing everything. Nobody.
Well deserved.
The day spring training ended, I don't think anybody could have thought this would be the way the kid would play. By the way, speaking of the Padres and A.J. Preller, he's in his 9th year. They've had 3 winning seasons in 9 years, including the COVID season when they finally got to the playoffs. Been to postseason only twice. A.J. Preller's composite record with his team, his trades, his players, the contracts he's given out, 754 wins, 816 losses in 9 years. He's 62 games under 500. And we've been close to going to the World Series. No, not at all. In 9 years, 62 games under the 500 mark. So maybe I shouldn't have given him a C, a B. Maybe it should have been more like a C, but I was grading it on the first half of the season and what AJ's done to find players and fast forward Jackson Merrill's development. I gave him a B. You buy what I say? You shocked at that record I just told you about?
No. Well, first of all, they did get close to the World Series a couple of years ago. They got to the NLCS. That's good. The first half of A.J. Preller's time here, after the whole Matt Kemp and Justin Upton stuff, we were dealing with who was like some of our guys. It was like Peralta was playing second base, and it was a bunch of no names, and Will Myers was your number 3 hitter. That was when we were intentionally tanking to get all those draft picks. So the first half of that, I don't really give him too much, business there. The last 2 years, he's almost been even Steven 500. So I don't know. To me, Preller has made more good deals than bad deals, and I love the deals he made this year, getting a Rise and Cease.
Okay, he's made more good deals than bad deals, but he's made an awful lot of bad deals. And you have to couple in prices he paid to get all those draft picks, and you have to couple in he traded all those farm systems away 2.5 times. So, yeah, you might like this roster, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's gotten anywhere near fair value on all the transactions he's made. I think there have been more negative failure of transactions. And my gripe, here we go, Mr. Negativity, my gripe is he has to keep making deals to fix the deals that he made prior that didn't pan out. And he made those deals for the deals he made beyond that didn't pan out. He's just always plugging holes in the dike, and they've never gotten over the top. They've never been to the Fall Classic. And when they played the Phillies, they got blown out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's been all wine and roses, Lee, but it's a tough deal, man. Imagine how hard it is to build an organization from the dead bottom and try to get them up to the top of the mountain. It's tough. Overall, I think Preller has done okay, but a lot of bad luck. I mean, what about like Tatis? You know, he gets screwed over by the drug testing. He has the motorcycle accident. All these things that are beyond the scope of what A.J. Preller can do. And you know, when he signed Bogaerts, we all said, "Oh, another shortstop. Oh, that's a long contract." But overall, we were still optimistic. But no one expected, Xander Bogaerts to go into the tank.
The man is pro Preller. I just dealing with the reality of Preller. 62 games under 500 in his 9th year. Still waiting for my order for World Series tickets. That hasn't happened yet. So you're a Padre fan. San Diego, anywhere around the country, jump on board. That letter grade, that's just a C+. It's not quite a B, which would have been a 3.0 grade point average that I never got. C+ grade point average for this team this season. You're going to have to argue with me long and hard that this is not a summer of underachievement again. Padre fans, jump into the Fans Forum box. Take that slot. Don't let somebody else fire away. We go from that topic to the next baseball topic.
Yeah, Dodgers and Angels. I mean, what are you seeing here, Lee?
Boy, every time you think we're making a step forward, there's a step back. Let's first of all start with what's going on in L.A. They've shut Clayton Kershaw down again. Kershaw was very impressive. First rehab start, 3 innings, 1 run, 2 hits, pile of strikeouts, clocked at 90+. His between-start segments, shoulder soreness resurfaced again. Kershaw has been shut down for maybe this week. Walker Buehler on the disabled list has begun weight training for the hip, weight training to get some of the strength back in the shoulder. Remember, he's got a 5.84 ERA. He's on the DL. At breakfast as of this morning, the Padres still have 10 pitchers on the disabled list, which is just a monster number. Some good news, Dustin May, Brusdar Graterol, both cleared after tossing off the mound to throw full bullpens this week. So that's just the next step in rehabilitation. Bad news, Max Muncy, 3rd time the oblique has flared. He's now on the 60-day disabled list. They have no idea when the third baseman's going to come back, and they don't have Joe Kelly. He's been put on the 60-day DL. He's continued to get lat shoulder problems. I think there's a trade coming. I still think they're in the running for Luis Robert, the White Sox power-hitting outfielder. Angels, not good news. Mike Trout, 7 weeks out of surgery, since surgery, not cleared to run yet. They had been hoping that when they did the meniscus procedure, it would be a 4-week stay and then he could start baseball regimen. He's now beyond 7 weeks, not cleared yet. Pain, swelling, etc. That's not good news. They don't have enough pitching. Now they lost another starter. Patrick Sandoval goes on the disabled list. I thought at times last year he was becoming the ace of the staff. He had a lousy start. He pitched better in the last month. He's got forearm discomfort, a.k.a. elbow. Real interesting comment. Brandon Drury just praised Ron Washington. Drury's a journeyman who has hit well in different stops in the major leagues and hit well when he got to Anaheim last season, but hurt a lot this season. He praised Ron Washington for handling, quote, all the adversity within that clubhouse and all this losing that piles up and piles up. Ron Washington holds a team meeting every week in which he points out certain things that happened in the games leading up to that team meeting. John Riley, why did you try to attempt to steal second base, get thrown out on the bases, and eventually ran us out of what could have been a big inning? John Riley has to stand up and answer what he was thinking. It's not that Ron Washington is condemning the player. He's just pinpointing the mental approach to the game, and if you did it, why did you do it? What were you thinking as you tried to do it? What do you hope the outcome would be? Not to embarrass the player. And he's done it with all the different guys in that clubhouse through the start of this crummy first half of the season. So Brandon Drury says he's never been around anybody that's done anything like that you will explain yourself to your teammates. Sidebar note, should I pull this name off the bulletin board and just update you on the out-of-town scoreboard? Trevor Bauer, last night, Mexico City Diablos against Oaxaca. Struck out 19.
19?
Record.
That's like Kerry Wood's strikeouts.
Well, that was 21, Chicago Cubs.
Okay.
19. Trevor Bauer is 9-0. 1.52 ERA in Mexico for the Diablo Rolos. He has struck out 102 in 62 innings. His cell phone must not work. Nobody is calling him. Isn't that stunning? I thought when you owned a team, the most important thing was to put the best number of players on the field you could. You mean to tell me the Dodgers couldn't use Trevor Bauer? The Angels couldn't use Trevor Bauer? The Pirates couldn't use Trevor Bauer? The last place teams in both leagues couldn't use Trevor Bauer? 9-0 and dominant, clocked in the 90s. Now, I grant you, Mexican League summer baseball is like AAA. But the guy's doing what he has to do at that point and has never, ever gotten a phone call. So, John, it's your turn to talk about good news, bad news Dodgers, Ron Washington's approach in Anaheim, and does anybody know the area code for the Mexico City Diablos, and why isn't anybody calling it?
Yeah, well, the Trevor Bauer thing is weird because Marcelo Ozuna is a wife beater, and he's still playing in the league.
Twice.
Yeah, and there's all these other cases of the inconsistency and hypocrisy. Give Trevor Bauer a shot. Now, granted, the Padres could use him. The Angels could really use him. Even the Dodgers could use him. Get Bauer back in the league. I mean, he's entertaining as hell, and he's going to cause a ruckus. But I like having him as part of the Major League Baseball. Love the story about Ron Washington. That's holding the guys accountable. Those are teaching moments, not necessarily wagging your finger, criticizing, but just going through the process of working through the issues. I think that's terrific. The Dodgers, what's amazing is they have so much depth and so many resources. I often wonder if everybody on the Dodger pitching staff was healthy, who's your starting five? Because they've got like 10 guys that could do it if everyone was healthy.
Find me anybody in the world that would have 10 pitchers on the disabled list and still be in first place?
It's incredible. I mean, I don't know how in the hell they're doing it. Now, by the way, Shohei Ohtani should be suspended. I mean, that guy is definitely covering for Ippei Mizuhara, or Mizuhara's covering for Ohtani. Imagine if Ohtani was out, Betts was out, Muncy's out. I still don't think they'd be in first place.
They're in first place right now. You can't take those games away from them. 50 wins on the season.
That's right.
Absolutely amazing. You're a baseball fan, Dodger fan, Angel fan. Jump into Fans Forum. Just tell us what you think. Hope you're enjoying what we're doing right now on our Monday bonus podcast. This is a big week in sports, aside from baseball, because right now we're going to talk about three-point shots, air balls, playing defense, slam dunks, and all that. Because just around the corner is the NBA draft coming up on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think we're all looking forward to seeing how this breaks down. A lot of Euros in there, too.
Yeah, let's just talk about the big headline. This is the strangest draft that I've covered in a long time, and I cover a lot of NBA. Nobody knows who the number one pick is, because one of the number one picks has not worked out for anybody, and that's shocking. The two players atop the draft board are players from France. Atlanta, which has the number one pick, is going to take one of them. It may be Zach Rishatcher, a 6'7" shooting forward from France, averaged 15.7 rebounds a game last year in the EuroLeague. It might be Alex Sarr, 7'1" center from France who played last year in Perth, Australia, 9.8 rebounds a game as a teenager playing against men. The thing is that Sarr has not worked out for Atlanta and not even met with Atlanta, even though Atlanta wanted him to come and visit. So that's intriguing in that Atlanta says it's keeping the pick, not revealing who they're going to take, but one of the big names has not shown up. Washington is going to pick second. The general consensus is Atlanta's going to wind up taking Rishatcher from France at number one. Would the Wizards take the 7'1" center Sarr? Without full disclosure, they got video on him. They got scouting reports playing in Perth. Did not meet with him. Has not come to the States. Really, really weird situation. Washington is devoid of all talent. So they'll take Sarr, who they think's got great upside. The Houston Rockets have the third pick in the draft. Houston dropping all kinds of hints because they've drafted well recently, and this team is, the arrow's pointed up. They're willing to trade the third pick they're willing to trade it to go get a veteran player or multiples of players to get to number 3, but they want veterans to go with all the young guys that they've got. Stay tuned for that. Now, if they don't find the right mix in a trade, evidently they're going to take Reed Shepherd, the shooting guard, who's a really good player at the University of Kentucky. The 4th pick in the draft belongs to San Antonio. And, of course, in the glow of the spotlight of Victor Wembanyama and how competitive they became with a snap of the fingers, thanks to that center from France, it looks as if they're going to take UConn's power forward, power guard, Stephon Castle. And we saw a lot of him in the NCAA tournament, and we were really impressed. It looks like he's going to go there. Nobody, for some reason, is talking very much about Donovan Clingham, the star center from UConn.
Oh, yeah.
But I've been told his workouts have been pretty impressive, and he may be pushing himself up the board to the point maybe he's a surprise pick at 1. Does Atlanta do something off outside the box and take Clingham? And they did meet with him and did talk to him. Would Washington bypass the big center from France? Would they take Clingham, who's obviously got some really, really good credentials for all the years he played at UConn? So keep an eye on that. So those are the top 4 picks in the draft. And I think there's going to be trades. I think there's going to be wheeling and dealing along the way. But, John, would you take a player sight unseen you've never interviewed?
Oh, no chance at all. I mean, I need to talk to this guy. I need to understand his psyche. I want to get medical reports. I mean, if I'm going to invest a lot of money, I mean, I need to see the guy. It's interesting, though, that there's more and more international players in this draft who we really don't know about. I mean, we follow NCAA basketball and March Madness, but these other guys are playing all over the world, and we really don't know how good they really are because it's an apples and oranges kind of comparison. It just seems now that the international part of the draft is over half the guys.
Oh, it really is. I mean, we did not know, in all honesty, the depths and the greatness of Luka Doncic. Look where we are now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking spectacular individual. And the whole landscape of the NBA has changed, I want to say, in the last 5 years. It's become heavy, heavy Euro. And really, in the last 10 years, guys are showing up every year who can play.
But just real quick, see those names on the top of the list? Atlanta, Washington. When were the last time those teams have been good? I know Atlanta had a little run with Trae Young. Washington hasn't been any good since they were the Bullets.
Atlanta's been building, but Atlanta's had contract issues. Atlanta's had unhappy player issues. I think Atlanta's had coaching issues. I think that's organizational dysfunction. God, Washington's been down forever and ever, and obviously they've changed coaches and they've changed general managers. They've changed owners along the way. Houston and San Antonio. I don't like the weather in Texas, but I like the basketball in Texas. The Rockets and the Spurs, arrows are really pointed up. Okay, that's topic 1. Those are the top 4 picks in the draft. I think there's going to be some trades there, but there's other topics here. John, go to the next board.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of these potential trades, Lee.
Interesting. San Antonio, with the center they already have, is going to draft 4 and 8.
Wow.
It's like Popovich going to flip on the light switch, and all of a sudden they're going to be real good again.
Wow.
You know, the one that gave us David Robinson and the one that gave us Tim Duncan and the one that delivered us Kawhi Leonard. It's about to happen again in the Popovich regime. Now, there's an intriguing story that has just surfaced. The teams are calling San Antonio. Spurs are not going to trade out of 4. They're going to take Castle, I'm led to believe. But they'd be willing to offer veterans to get San Antonio's 8th pick. So that's an interesting trade rumor there. Portland's got 2 number 1s. Portland is in the midst of massive rebuild after giving away Damian Lillard this time last year in the trade with Milwaukee. Portland is at 7-14. I was told Portland's trying to trade their 2 picks and a veteran player to get to Houston's pick at number 3. Now, I don't know what veteran players that Portland's got to trade because I don't think they have a hell of a lot of veterans after they move Lillard off the roster. The other wild card is what's going on with the New York Knicks. Now, they got roster problems, salary cap problems. They had a good season last year under Tom Thibodeau. The Knicks are drafting 14 and 15. They are trying to take one of those picks or both of those picks and a veteran player. They got a whole bunch of backup forwards and guards. Trade one of them so they could trade up. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that if you're Houston, you want to go from 3 down to 14 and 15.
Right.
Not sure. Now, the names on the board. Follow me on this. Tobias Harris, former Laker, who really found himself in Philadelphia. There's a salary cap issue. Philadelphia is shopping him. I was told San Antonio would take 8 and trade it for Tobias Harris, and it'd sign him into a big extension. So now you got a veteran, really trustworthy, shooting forward to go with Wembanyama and Stephon Castle. That trade, San Antonio, Philadelphia, might happen. Golden State, they're trying to move Chris Paul. He's got 1 year left, $30 million, but it's not guaranteed. They're not going to guarantee the money. They would trade him to try to make a deal where he goes somewhere else and he gets some guaranteed money, and Golden State would be able to get another decent draft pick out of it, somebody else's number 1, so keep an eye on that. The third name is not a household name, but he's a really good defensive presence center. 2/3 of the season played well for the New York Knicks, then he got badly hurt at the end of the year with a knee. Mitch Robinson is about to be traded by the Knickerbockers, so he might be part of some transaction in which the Knicks move 14, 15, and Mitch Robinson possibly to trade up. So I think by the time we get to Thursday's podcast, we'll be talking about some people making a big jump in terms of talent acquisition, and I tend to think San Antonio's the one that's going to do that. So, John, your reaction to who has the picks?
Well, Popovich is like outsmarting everybody here. I mean, the way he keeps rebuilding, but he always ends up with the number 1 overall pick. I mean, that's how he got Robinson. That's how he got Duncan. And now that's how he got Wembanyama. So I guess he just knows that cycle of when to go for it and when to tank.
And they were also one of the first ones that did the Euro thing way back. Mm-hmm. If you remember the 2 European guards, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker.
Right.
That was all a byproduct of that. That organization is really well run. It's kind of off the main highway in San Antonio. Nobody pays any attention to that. That's a pretty good place. It's a pretty good organization, and Popovich obviously is part of it. So stay tuned, because come Wednesday, we may see some trades as part of the first round. Now, circle back to the third topic on the table as it relates to the NBA.
Yeah, the Lakers and the Clippers. I mean, both these teams have a lot of challenges in front of them.
Yeah, let's just talk about who's going to do what, because I think there's some things about to happen. First of all the smoke is blown away, the arrival of J.J. Redick. Next thing we see is what are they going to do with the coaching staff, and that then to be followed immediately thereafter, what are the Lakers going to do to change their roster? Interesting name has just surfaced. They've interviewed him, I believe, on Sunday, if not today. Lead assistant, Stan Van Gundy.
Oh.
Pretty good basketball mind. Pretty decent career as a head coach. Been a TV analyst. His brother has just come back to the NBA as an assistant with the Clippers. Stan Van Gundy might become the lead assistant for J.J. Redick. So that would be a counterbalance of an experienced intellectual guy to go with the rookie head coach. They're also talking about going ahead and adding Sam Cassell and James Borrego as assistants 2 and 3 to the Redick coaching staff. That could happen pretty quickly. Big trade rumor. Lakers have reopened trade talks. And again, they're going to change the chemistry of the roster because Redick wants to run or Redick wants a lot of three-point shooters. They don't quite have that right now. They're talking to Atlanta. They're talking about DeJounte Murray in a huge package deal. Supposedly, it would be one of the Lakers' first guys off the bench. It might be the big center, Jared Vanderbilt. It might be one of the free agents they signed a year ago, Taurean Prince. I'm told the Lakers don't want to trade him, but that's what Atlanta's asking for. If you want DeJounte Murray, you got to give us this year's number 1 at 17, give us Vanderbilt, give us Prince, and then you have to add a future number 1. Mm-hmm. Murray is a really good young player who can stroke it. So the Lakers might have a trade coming, I'm told, with Atlanta. That might be item 1 to watch in terms of the structuring of the roster. Now, in terms of the Clippers, we're waiting for a decision on Paul George. I've been told that Paul George is going to do something different. Instead of opting out, becoming a free agent, and then re-signing in L.A., though the Clippers won't give him what he wants, or opting out and becoming a street free agent, he's going to opt in. He will opt in to stay, and there'll be a trade after he opts in. So the Clippers would trade the 1 year left on his contract. Paul George, we thought, might be going to Philly. Philly's backed away. I hear Paul George might be going to the New York Knicks for a number 1, the other number 1, and maybe Mitchell Robinson. There'd be a 3-for-1 deal. Paul George brings his firepower and gets the money and contract he wants from the Knicks, and the Clippers get 2 number 1s that they don't have, plus a big defensive power leaping center in Mitchell Robinson. That's what I hear as it relates to the Clippers. I also hear that the Clippers are interested in Chris Paul coming back. And they bring Chris Paul in. They'd say goodbye to James Harden, say goodbye to Russell Westbrook. They'd have to give up something. The something is what I question. I heard Norm Powell in a straight-up swap for Chris Paul. That'd be a great acquisition, I tend to think, for Golden State because Powell is younger and he can shoot and stroke it as a shooting forward. Paul gets to come home. L.A. still needs him. So you'd have Chris Paul, Kawhi Leonard, and maybe this trade with the Knickerbockers with Paul George exiting. So I've thrown a lot of stuff here on the wall, but that's why I have email, and that's why I network with all the people that I network with, because they send me stuff and I ask questions, etc. So your reaction to the Lakers, DeJounte Murray at a big price. If you're a Clipper fan, give me your response. You want Chris Paul, and then what about letting Paul George go and getting a big defensive center, Mitch Robinson, as part of the mix and changing the makeup of Clipper basketball? And John Riley says
both teams need to make big changes because what they've got ain't working. Chris Paul, how old is he? He's got to be in his mid-30s.
36, maybe.
36.
Still got gas left.
Still? I mean, I don't know if I would want him as a veteran. I mean, there's a lot of veterans in the league to get. Chris Paul is not a guy that I would want to sign if I were a GM. But what do I know? Lakers, the deal there with the Hawks sounds pretty interesting. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, they need to shake it up. Like you say, J.J. Redick needs some three-point shooters. I do like the Stan Van Gundy thing. It's the yin and the yang, you know, to someone to help out Redick kind of grow into that job.
It's like you and me, point, counterpoint, balance.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, kind of like that.
Smart guy, dummy on the street corner out left field. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I just think that the Lakers, they still need to make a decision. Is LeBron still the centerpiece of that team? Because Laker fan is ready to turn the page on LeBron.
Yeah, but Laker fans not emotionally ready for a 26-win season. Because if you don't have LeBron, I just don't think you're anywhere near a competitive franchise. AD can't do it by himself when every other super team has got three superstars. I think the heat that LeBron's taken is just, to me, it's just way unfair. So you're an NBA fan. Don't bark at me that we don't talk about the damn NBA. I just gave you a summary, a sneak preview of what we think might happen with the NBA draft and circling, obviously, on the Lakers and Clippers. So Fans Forum's chat box, do not shoot an air ball. Shoot a three-pointer. You got a question? Ask it. You got a statement to make, you NBA fans. Fans Forum box is open right now. You look like you want to say something.
No. I mean, I'm just looking forward to the next topics on the table. But we have halftime coming, don't we?
We get to halftime. Our Monday bonus podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers and by North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido. Got a favor to ask. We all need help with our eyes. You might wear contacts. You might wear glasses. Maybe you've not been to an eye doctor recently. I'm asking you to set up a free appointment, a free eye exam at North County Eye Center of Poway and Escondido. All you need to do is call and set up the appointment. Tell them Hacksaw and his podcast sent you, told you about North County Eye Center. Just have the free vision test. You might want sunglasses. You might want prescription glasses, maybe a new set of contact lenses. And, of course, down road, we're all going to need help, even him, with our eyes, whether it's cataracts or glaucoma, eye infections, pink eye, dry eye, whatever the procedure is, these people can help you. I did business with them. I'm really pleased. You should too. North County Eye Center. And our podcast is also brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Center stores. Prime example of why I went to DIXIELINE for doors and windows. In my driveway this afternoon, 111 degrees in RB. Heat just oppressive. I've yet to turn on my air conditioning till today because the inside of my house stays cool thanks to the DIXIELINE Lumber windows and doors that we bought. Same thing here in John's house. Hey, you got projects, whether it's something really significant like new windows or doors, or you're just going to do some construction inside, do what he did. Go here. For materials and even for ideas, let them be your consultant. DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers. And as we go to the second half of our podcast here on a Monday bonus show, just a couple of reminders looking for you to join our team. X marks the spot. You're on X, a.k.a. Twitter. I want you to join my team and follow us. I want you to become part of the All-Star team. Just follow me at Hacksaw1090. Hit it, Hacksaw1090. Reminder, we're offering something unique and really different, including bonus things for people who join the Insiders group. How do you do that? Just go to my website, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. I write on it every day on the internet, and fill out the orange box right on the homepage and join us. And by the way, speaking of my website, because he didn't agree with me, read my Padres midseason report card, my one man's opinion column. I write a column virtually every day on the website. And when we're done talking topics on the table, Fans Forum. I don't care where the hell you're following us, whether you're in San Diego or in Los Angeles or you're part of the O Canada Network. You can be actively involved. Fans Forum, right at the end. John Riley created it. Explain it to how they jump on board.
Yeah, well, so if you've got a question or comment for Lee, jump in on board. Get in the live chat on Facebook, X, or YouTube. Lee, the Winnipeg guys are piling in. They want to know your opinion on the Stanley Cup. They even got some questions about how the Jets are constructing their roster.
We got a lot to talk about, so those are all the things we're doing here as we're talking business. We go to the second half. Let's talk sports. News and notes around the NFL, John.
Yeah, we're talking about Raiders. We're talking about the Chiefs and the Jags.
Yeah, let's talk about these hot headlines in the National Football League, all off the field. John and I have talked about what's going to happen in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are beginning a process to renovate their stadium. Massive 3-year project, 25, 26. They'll be doing things. They're closing off the upper deck. They're going to play before a smaller venue. In 2027, John, they have to leave the stadium completely so they can finish the refurb. We've been talking about where they're going to go to play. The Jaguars have just proposed to the National Football League this past weekend. Let us play 3 games in London in 2027. Let us play 3 games in Gainesville, Florida, the University of Florida Stadium. Let us play the other 3 games in Orlando. So they'll have 6 of 9 games in the Sunshine State. The other 3 will be 3 home games in a row. They'll move everything and be based in London for almost a full calendar month. So that's the latest on the Jaguars. They're going to be a true road team in 2027. Raiders, this is a really cool story. We all know number 99, Mad Max Crosby.
Oh, yeah.
Defensive ends, made himself a hell of a player. Mm-hmm. It's quite a story of redemption. He was a rebel. He was a troubled kid. Hardly got recruited. He went to Eastern Michigan in the Mid-American Conference, which had been down forever. Anyhow, he got put on the straight and narrow, followed guidance, followed coaches, made himself an NFL player. He's become a superstar with the Raiders. He donated $1 million to Eastern Michigan, which does not have a lot of money. It's a group of 5 school in the MAC. Donated $1 million to help refurbish the stadium. They just named the stadium this weekend in his honor, and he and his family came for the renovation,
nice.
The new artificial turf, etc. It's a really cool story of a kid that was off the track, kid that got guidance, kid that matured, found himself, kid that's become really involved in the community, first in Oakland, now in Las Vegas. I mean, he is a self-made star who found himself because of where he went to school and gave back to Eastern Michigan. It's a really cool story. And in Kansas City, I find this hard to believe that the Chiefs are going to move across the state line. On Saturday, the governor of the state of Kansas approved the $1.6 billion funding that the legislature had said yes on, signed the document. The money is there to build a Kansas City Chiefs stadium on the state line in the state of Kansas. Chiefs would contribute some $700 million, their share, plus the Chiefs would also build their own practice facility there. Can't believe that Kansas City, Missouri, and Jackson County is going to let the Chiefs go across the state line and get the stadium built. They've got till 2030 to put the shovel in the dirt, but now they got the financing. So, John, you want to go to London and see the Jacksonville Jaguars? You got that. You got the Raiders, the Max story, and then we'll talk about Kansas City and where they're going to play.
I like the Jaguars' proposal because there's so many stadiums in Florida. Yeah. So Orlando, Gainesville, I like the little bit of London. Good on them. Max Crosby, that's a great story. Donating back to his school, showing some love. But I'll tell you what, in Michigan, I get confused. There's all these different directional, Eastern Michigan, Northern Michigan, Western Michigan. I mean, are they all on the MAC?
And you forgot Central Michigan, which is going to play out here against San Diego State.
Exactly. So I can't keep track of them all. Break them down for me, Lee.
Well, Central Michigan, Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan, all part of the Mid-American Conference, MAC, Group of 5, with Miami of Ohio and my alma mater, Ohio U, and Toledo and Kent and Bowling Green. It's a nice conference, which has its own level of play, and they're all pretty competitive. Northern Michigan is a Division II school up in the Upper Peninsula, more known for hockey than it used to be known for Division II football and developing quarterbacks. Steve Mariucci played at Northern Michigan. So Northern Michigan is different from the directional schools in the lower part of the state. But, of course, obviously, what goes on in Ann Arbor, what goes on in East Lansing takes all the oxygen out of the air for the entire state of Michigan. And can you believe the Kansas City, Kansas Chiefs?
They're going where the money is, man. I mean, you can't blame them for taking the deal.
Okay, that's news and notes around the NFL. What a night we have. Don't call me. Don't text me unless you're bringing the beer and the sub sandwiches. Game 7, game night, Edmonton Oilers, Florida Panthers. You think it's hot down in Sunrise, Florida at this hour? Damn, they're playing hockey in June. It's hard to believe.
Yeah, it's almost July. I mean, my God.
Hasn't happened since 1942. World War II, Toronto Maple Leafs trailed the Detroit Red Wings 3-0. Maple Leafs, with a roster that had been shredded because all the Canadian players had gone off to war, they came back and they won 4 in a row. They beat the Detroit Red Wings. Edmonton can equal that tonight if they can do this. The Oilers trailed 3-0. They've ripped off 3 wins in a row. They are inside the Panthers' head. The Panthers got to the NHL Finals by mugging and eliminating the high-powered Rangers, did the same thing to the Boston Bruins. And now they've had trouble because they've tried to lean on and body bag and beat up Edmonton, and they keep taking penalties, and Edmonton keeps scoring power play goals. Scoring in the playoffs is so bloody hard. And Edmonton's got 22 power play goals. They got 3 shorthanded goals. And when the other guy has the man advantage, this is the stat that just staggers the imagination. Edmonton has killed off 46 of 47 man advantages in postseason. And, of course, Stuart Skinner, the young goaltender, second-year starter, has kind of really come up big for the most part. But that just collectively is a really good Edmonton Oilers team. And I don't think Florida has any idea how to play these guys. If you bang them and run them and mug them, you're going to get penalized. And your guys are in the box and they'll score goals. 22 power play goals in the playoffs. And if you get the odd man advantage, the opponent is 1 for 47 with the power play against Edmonton's penalty killers. And, this team, although a lot of people have the opinion it's strictly a one-line team, it's McDavid and it's Zach Hyman and it's Leon Draisaitl. But they got second and third line guys that play roles really well. And their defense has kind of held up in this series. I would have never imagined, when it was 3-0, I never imagined Edmonton was going to be able to execute this kind of comeback. So I think it's going to be fun. Any coins in your pocket? Toss them. I don't know who's going to win this one, except that Edmonton is inside the head of Florida, and I don't know what Florida can do to change the way they play, because they have to just stop taking penalties and they have to be scared when it's 4-on-4, because that's a lot of open ice for McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys to wheel and deal and score goals. I think what a great night in hockey. And like I said, it hasn't happened since 1942 when Fido was a pup. And John Riley says,
well, first of all, you can't flip a coin here. You have to make a call. Pick 'em, pal. Who do you think is going to win tonight?
My heart says, because it's their game, as Don Cherry on Hockey Night in Canada used to say, we invented the damn game. Oh, Canada. I'll root for the Oilers. I'd love to see the Oilers do it. God, Gretzky and Messier and Grant Fuhr and Paul Coffey and Yari Curry. God, that was 30-plus years ago since Edmonton won the Cup. Mm-hmm. These guys are pretty damn good. Now, the big argument, if Edmonton wins tonight, we'll probably be arguing on Thursday How would the Connor McDavid franchise go against Gretzky and Messier and all those guys back in the day with Edmonton? But I came from hockey. They invented the game. I'm rooting for O Canada to win it. I'm going to be fascinated to see what Florida does.
Well, Florida fan has just got to be, on the edge of their seat going crazy. But it's interesting how we went into this series and you were so high on the Oilers and all these skill players, all the talent, all the power play goals. And then they laid an egg for those first 3 games. We thought it could have been over in 4. It could have been a sweep. And now here we are, Game 7.
Just absolutely amazing. So will you pay off the bets? I mean, if Edmonton win, are you going for Florida? No,
actually, I'm rooting for the Oilers. I generally will always root for the team furthest west. So if it's closer to West Coast, the Edmonton Oilers, I'm going to go with that.
Okay. So somebody's a hockey fan. The O Canada line is open for everybody that's on our network. If you want to jump on board, give us a quick spin what you think. We go from that. Last topic on the table, we got Hacksaw's Headlines.
Hacksaw's Headlines, yeah, the high-speed sports wire league.
A soccer fan. You watched the game last night? Soccer fan, corner kick me. An opinion, what you saw. Team USA buried Bolivia. First game Copa America tournament. They scored 2 minutes in. Christian Pulisic scored first shot of the game with a bullet. Top shelf. Amazing. Came back. He set up one of their young forwards. You and I have been talking about other names on the roster leading into this thing. Fobalorgan. He scored on a rocket shot from about 40, 50 yards out. Almost scored 2 other goals. Gio Reyno had one really good look. Ricardo Pepi got robbed twice in front of the net when he broke in alone. The goaltender made a defensive face-first save. Team USA came just storming out of the gates. I couldn't believe how they played on the edge, and Bolivia was on its back heels and pushed into the parking lot. So Team USA's first win over Bolivia. They'll play their second game on Thursday. They get Panama. Meanwhile, England, which has not had a lot of great global success, is fighting like hell to get to the knockout round. England's going to play a third-round game here, but there's a lot of criticism that they're not dominating. Well, their star, Harry Kane, who had played in the English Premier League and last year jumped and went to Germany. Harry Kane plays for the national side. He's their big gun, their big scorer. He took exception to the analyst on TV. The BBC has just... I watched a little bit of what the BBC commentators had to say about Team England, and I thought, geez, these guys have a tie and a loss, and you're berating them as if they're incompetent. Harry Kane at a podium after the England game with Denmark that wound up in a surprise 1-1 tie. Harry Kane addressed the BBC, and their lead analyst is a guy by the name of Gary Lineker, who's a former great English player, then became a coach, now he's an analyst. And he said, we have not had a lot of greatness in English football in the last decade or so. Oh, by the way, Gary Lineker, you're part of that failure. So don't sit here and berate this team. We're doing everything we can. How about a little support from the fans in London rather than condemnation on the whole island because everybody watches BBC and what Gary Lineker has to say? So it was really interesting to see that. Third topic on the table. I don't know if you watched golf on Sunday. Man, it was kind of cool. Then it was kind of ugly. And then, wow. Scotty Scheffler won the Travelers Championships in Connecticut. He really played well. He had the lead. One of his best friends from the state of Texas, Tom Kim, a South Korean, caught him on the 17th. And they're going to the 18th, shooting onto the green. And Scheffler puts his second fairway shot onto the green. Kim, who had played really well to make up and catch him on the leaderboard, puts it in a bunker. So Kim finally chips it out and gets it onto the green. As they're walking up to the green, 6 protesters come running out of the stands with spray paints. And they spray paint the green. Right. They're greens. They're protesting pollution and all that.
Yeah.
And the cops were running out there, jumped on them, handcuffed all these protesters, and dragged them off. But it stopped the tournament for a good 20 minutes because there was all the stuff on the greens, and we didn't know whether it was powder. You know, my first thought was somebody throwing fentanyl out there to try to create an international incident.
Yeah.
I was absolutely floored. So they stopped it, and they dragged the 6 protesters off, and then they came out with it, cleaning workers, and they scraped the greens, and they had to reset the hole because the protesters had thrown all the stuff. I didn't know it was paint at that time. It looked like powder to me. They threw it where the hole was for the 18th green. Mm-hmm. So they cleaned it off. They went and changed holes, moved the hole and the flag further away, and they wound up being a playoff. They had to replay the 18th hole because it was an extra playoff hole. And Kim missed it, and Scheffler won it. The shocker to me is CBS. I mean, they do such a phenomenal job on the PGA Tour. They ignored the story. We saw
Really?
we saw a little bit that there was a protester. We didn't know the depths of the protest, and Jim Nantz and the crew didn't really talk about it, any specifics, and they never ever showed the replay of the actual incident. Now, I understand you don't want to show streakers and stupid people because that eggs other people. Hey, watch me do it next time. Mm-hmm. But this was a major incident and a major tournament right on live TV, and you didn't cover it. I was kind of disappointed in CBS because I didn't know that there were 6 protesters. I only saw one. I saw substance near the 18th hole in the flag, and then it really, because the golfers walked away, and what is that? You know, is it anthrax? It could be anything.
Right.
It could be fentanyl. It could be sand. And we found out later it was paint. Well, CBS didn't do a job. Your job is to report. Report Scheffler, report Tom Kim, report the incident, and talk about it. I thought they really lacked in coverage there. Sidebar story on Friday. His name is Cam Young. It is blazing hot in Connecticut in the Travelers. Course was really tough to deal with. The conditions were tough. The dude shot an 11 under 59. You never did that.
No. Not a chance.
He had 7 birds and 2 eagles. He shot a 59 in obsessively hot, muggy conditions in Connecticut, and he climbed up the leaderboard. I think he wound up finishing 5th. It was kind of fascinating to see. Okay, so John, Team USA, Harry Kane talking down the BBC. And did CBS drop the ball with the golf tournament coverage the way it occurred?
Well, I watched the Team USA game against Bolivia. It was great. I loved it when Pepe came into the game and instant energy, instant pressure on the goal. And he really deserved at least one of those. You know, it was kind of a shame. But Bolivia, they were saying, is kind of a down team. So now they get Panama. And I know the Americans have struggled against Panama. But imagine if they got to the semifinals in this tournament.
Knockout round, baby.
Yeah, and if they got to the semifinals and they're in the mix with Brazil and Argentina, that would be a win overall for the program.
I think the cool thing is we have seen Christian Pulisic grow up from a teenager into a man.
Oh, yeah.
He looks so different in confidence in his approach. So if you're a soccer fan, how cool is this? And, you know, John and I have talked for the last calendar year since the last World Cup that they got some kids coming. And I didn't know who Balogun was. I started checking and I started talking about Balogun. Man, he was on fire. He is so fast and so big and so rangy and athletic. And he and Pulisic, and then all of a sudden Reyna gets opportunities, and then we saw what Pepe did. So I just think there's an awful lot of firepower. It's no longer Christian Pulisic against the world. So soccer fan here in America should kind of be excited, and we'll see if they can dominate the rest of the group play, move to the knockout round.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they can pull this off. But wasn't it interesting on Christian Pulisic's goal, really early in the game? It was a corner kick, and they sort of conceded. They didn't shoot the ball into the box. Instead, they just kind of tipped it out, and then he went into the corner of the box and hit that laser. When that happened, I was originally disappointed, but obviously it was a great plan.
It was all game plan. They were going to do something really different. I mean, he dumped the corner kick into a teammate who gave it back to him, and Pulisic bolted right, and he unleashed a shot top corner over the goaltender's head, right to the corner of the crossbar. He wedged it in there. So I was impressed. And the golf situation.
The golf situation, first of all, I saw Tom Kim on the leaderboard, and I had to do a double check. I thought it said Tom Kite, which is going way the hell back. Scheffler winning again, and this time in extra innings, but the whole protesting thing, I mean, I kind of understand why CBS doesn't cover it because they want to stay neutral politically on these things. They really should cover it, though, because it was a disruptive event. But for the life of me, I mean, I don't understand why protesters do this. I mean, you have a cause that you fight for, great, but don't disrupt other peaceful people, to try to make a spectacle of yourself. That was a shame. And then the England story, it's funny how, Kane is calling out the analysts saying, you're part of the problem. Why don't you support us? That's how people usually comment about you. It's about you're always like negative on the Padres or someone else.
Just jump on the host. That's okay. That's fine. Who do you think will be co-hosting with you next week? Hey, listen, our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 store locations to serve you in San Diego. You got projects. We want you to deal with them. And by North County Eye Center, Poway and Escondido, a free vision exam for anybody who gives them a call. Set up the appointment right now. Just make sure you tell them Hacksaw sent you. Ready, set, go. Here comes Fans Forum, John's favorite part, John's best friends.
Okay, here we go. Let's start here with Cal, and he says, Dear God, Saw, I find it hard to bet against Edmonton. Florida's goaltender went from Conn Smythe favorite to scapegoat. Whoever scores first hoists the Lord Stanley.
Tell you what, if Edmonton pots another one really early, I mean, Florida's emotions just have to be on the borderline brink of collapsing right now. Bobrovsky has taken a lot of shots. He's been flopping a little bit more. But he's been left naked, and they got guys in front of the net. Guys are tipping shots in, etc. I mean, Edmonton is doing everything that Edmonton needs to do to win. In Florida is not the Florida we saw in the first 3 games, nor the Florida that posted the wins against the Rangers. This would be great if they can take this trophy back to Canada. I mean, and on Thursday, I'll just tip you now. If you're a hockey fan on Thursday, please argue with us. This Edmonton Oiler franchise, the Connor McDavid era versus Gretzky and Messier. Make sure Thursday you have an opinion. Don't be lame. Show me your game on Thursday on Fans Forum. Let's move on. Next question.
Okay, let's go here to Richard. And he says, for Fans Forum, I no longer consume my sports on local radio. I get it through live streams and podcasts now. Ben and Woods is everything that I hate about corporate sports media.
Some guys do it well. Some guys don't do it well. Some guys are told what to do and not to do. It's just a different era in sports talk radio. It'd be very hard right now to operate under the parameters of what corporate radio wants you to do. But that's why podcasts have exploded. And that's why what we're doing has been really freaking successful. I think we're 16 months into the mission. And John gets more access to the numbers that I do. But, yeah, we're delivering a lot of content to a lot of people. And whether you agree or disagree, doesn't matter. People are partaking, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and the format that we're doing works really well, in the digital world, because you've got your 10 or so Hacksaw's headlines. We break them down into segments so hockey fan can get their hockey comments, etc. So it all works very nicely. But yeah, the world is changing in sports talk radio. But I do want to give a shout out to Ben and Woods. I saw a post that they did. They have their Tier 1 baseball team that's an adult team, and they have Will Myers show up for them. And he was playing ball. So that's kind of cool. So the world has changed in sports talk radio. You were the pioneer.
We did it. Blame me. You're damn right. We were bleeping and brilliant. And what we're doing now in modern America is absolutely amazing. And just understand this, people. We're doing 21st century broadcasting via podcasts, and the host still has a Royal Manual typewriter in his garage. Can't use it because I can't get it fixed because it's broken.
Well, I'm dragging you, kicking and screaming into the 21st century.
On we go. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, let's go here to Rick. He says, I'm a sports fan, and I work with many sports fans, and basketball is an afterthought. The game is unwatchable. The league knows this is obviously by having that ridiculous in-season tournament gimmick.
Well, there's a lot of gimmicks that I don't buy. There's not a lot of defenses being played until we get to the postseason and playoffs. But there's so many great athletes. I mean, if you ever sat courtside, I had the uniqueness when I was working both in San Diego and Los Angeles to actually sit courtside in one of the expensive seats, where Jack Nicholson was across the way from me, to sit and see how great these athletes are, how explosive they are, how physical they are, how dynamic they are. I mean, it is a great game, but I'm sorry, I can't get excited about a Sacramento Portland game the third week of November. It's almost as if they made the season meaningless. Postseason is really good. Some of the matchups and they're really great teams, but the rest of it to me is, and they don't play very much defense at all, and it's just run, gun, and shoot threes and hope they go in the hole. So it's just not the NBA that I'm used to. I mean, we love Showtime, and we love Bird and McHale and Robert Parrish, and obviously way back in the day, the Red Auerbachs of the world. It's just a different game to watch. But, boy, those athletes are phenomenal players.
Well, back in all those previous years of the NBA, not only were they great athletes, but they were very interesting personalities. And you look at guys like today, like Jason Tatum of the Celtics. I mean, he's just sort of a flat line on a personal level. But to your point about seeing the game courtside, I've never been courtside for an NBA game, but I was at a San Diego State against Nevada Reno, and I had courtside seats in Reno, and that was a lot of fun. And boy, what a different perspective. But for an NBA game, they're like twice as big.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know you have reverence for the bad boys in Detroit, Ricky Mahorn and all those guys, and you can tell people you're a Dennis Rodman fan. I don't know how many tattoos you have, but that's okay.
Rodman was terrific. I mean, even when he was just the worm with the Pistons, he was great. And all the things that he did to go on, that was a personality. Michael Jordan was a personality in his own way. Charles Barkley, I mean, Magic was terrific. I mean, there's been so many great personalities in the game. But today, who?
It's a different era.
Yeah. Who?
And they're all making $43 million a year. Which I think indirectly, Rick might sign this memo, probably turns people off the amount of money that everybody's making. Not just the super. I'm talking everybody's making $43 million.
Well, they deserve it. I mean, look how much money they're generating in that league.
Thank you for the basketball call. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go to Manny. He says the Lakers can't tank because they traded away all their first-round picks.
Well, they do now have 3 first-round picks back in the cash register. You can't trade consecutive year number ones, Manny, but they do have a 17 pick. They do a 19 pick, and they will have a 21 pick. So they have 3 picks they can use going forward, but they've traded so many picks away, it's just really hard. And their drafts, as whatever number ones they've still had, have not really panned out. So there's no doubt they got to change the chemistry here. And if they trade 2 number ones in the DeJounte Murray deal, then he better be the right guy because there won't be any future picks once LeBron retires. It's going to go away. So they're really at a crossroads. And now they got a new philosophy with J.J. Redick, and they want to run and they want to shoot threes, which means they're going to have a different type of player to complement that roster.
But is LeBron a run and 3 kind of guy?
He's a run and down the floor and force it to the basket kind of guy, but he can run and dish if you got other guys who can shoot threes. D'Angelo Russell's going to exit. He's going to opt out of his contract, or he might get traded to somewhere else. And, he was, whatever legitimacy they had at 3 was probably more him, and he was hot and cold, inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Reeves has a little bit of play there as well, but I kind of appreciate the fact that there's a new coach, so you're going to have a new system, and you might need to change the personnel to fit the system.
And they've kept changing personnel 4 years in a row, and it hasn't really worked.
No, they're constantly tinkering, and it's not right.
Next question.
Let's go here to Emmanuel. He says, Ron Washington is good for the Angels. Artie Moreno is bad for the Angels. Artie Moreno is starting to challenge Frank McCourt as the worst owner of a big city franchise.
A lot of people probably agree with you there. I'll say this. Their kids are hanging in there. Logan O'Hoppe, the power-hitting catcher. Zach Neto has played really well at shortstop and has kind of become a clubhouse leader. But, at the end of the day, there is no Mike Trout. There is no Anthony Rendon. Half the pitching staff is staggering. The other half's hurt. They just don't have enough players. And they got budget space, and, unless there's a new general manager coming in, and it must be hard to be Artie Moreno and have all this money and be so disliked to the point you can't put your face out in public. Even at his own stadium, he sits in a closed box and he never interacts with anybody. And he doesn't walk the concourses anymore. And he did that when he first bought the team from Disney. I think it's a sad commentary about what he's become or what he's allowed to happen to the franchise during his reign. So just rebuilding with kids is just so bloody hard. And Ron Washington's doing the best he can humanly do, but they're so far underneath water. They're not even close to being a 500 team, and I don't know what's left in the farm system either because they're jamming these kids up there and trying to hope they can stay healthy and get better.
Remember when Artie Moreno bought the team and he cut the price of beer?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, this is the greatest owner of all time. But it makes you wonder, what is he thinking right now? Is he thinking from a business perspective, hey, we're making money, we're profitable, let's just kind of keep this thing going? Or is he thinking, I want to win, and he sincerely wants to win, but he always makes bad decisions? Or, what is going through his mind?
What was it 8 months ago? We did a commentary on the Angels on our podcast, and I was the one that recommended, and he was under enormous fire at that point. Artie, you need to talk to baseball executives who've been successful. You probably remember me saying, you should call Larry Lucchino. You should call Theo Epstein. Find out from them what works to make organizations successful. Well, sadly, Larry Lucchino passed away. Theo Epstein wound up going back to the Boston Red Sox as a consultant. So it's obvious that he's staying with the people that he trusts and believes in, but there's no track record of success. So why would you just continue to do the same stuff year after year after year? His general manager's contract is up at the end of the season. Are you gonna hit the eject button on Perry Manassian? Who's the next guy coming in? Is he going to have any better hope of winning if you're not going to fund it correctly or operate it correctly or make the right decisions?
See, I just don't understand the strategy. I mean, with all those resources in that market, they should be a really good franchise, and they're not. And they've only had a few moments of greatness. They won the World Series about 20 years ago.
That's with the Disney ownership. He inherited it, and they lived off a couple more good years, and then it's been down ever since.
Exactly. So it's just a mystery what's going on in Anaheim.
Thank you for the note. Go ahead. Next one.
Okay, let's go here to Chris. And he says, this just in off the sports wire. If WNBA players didn't make layups look like blindfolded over the shoulder half-court shots, Caitlin Clark would break the all-time league assist record by late 2025.
She's playing better. They're playing better. I think she's still being abused. She just refuses to drag herself into any of the raging controversy about society things that people are trying to drag her name into the middle of. All she wants to do is play basketball and make the Indiana Fever better. It is interesting. Angel Reese has had a bunch of really good games in the last week and a half. Angel's been a magnet for the controversy because she's with the Chicago Sky. By the way, Chicago has a worse record than the Fever, and the Fever started 3-10. Wow. So Caitlin's gotten better as we've gone along, and there's just a lot of really good players there. The LA Sparks lost their top young star. What's her name?
She's just a tall blonde.
Yeah, she just blew out her knee. And she's gone for the season. Tough injury there, ACL. So the TV ratings continue to be through the roof. They're selling out games, and it's all a byproduct of the personas that are in the WNBA, and obviously the greatness of who Caitlin Clark is. But she's interesting. She's not been dragged into this screeching and yelling about race and all this other stuff that some of the national media wants to make it a hot topic.
Well, compare that. I mean, compare Angel Reese with Jason Tatum, Caitlin Clark with, any of the other NBA stars. There's a lot more personality in the WNBA. That's why they've been selling.
A bit of flamboyance.
Yeah, and it's good. And that's what makes it entertaining. I mean, that's the whole reason we watch sports, is because it's fun to watch sports. So I love everything going on in the WNBA. But I did see that Caitlin Clark in that game against Chicago, she had like 13 assists. So, she can play the game in different ways. But Angel Reese, she's the queen of the double-double.
Oh, she's been pretty doggone impressive. She didn't play real well real early, and post the Caitlin Clark hard foul incident in which she was clapping and took a lot of heat, she's played a lot better basketball. She's a fine player, and so it's the league is just rocketed in terms of popularity, and everybody's paying attention, and that's what this whole thing is about. And there's some pretty good players in WNBA.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I love it.
Yeah, this guy likes Dennis Rodman. Anything that's got flair to it, that's him.
Yeah, and Trinity Rodman, the soccer player, too. All right, let's go here to Graham, and he says, with all due respect, we don't need any more A.J. Preller apologists. I think he's talking about me. He'd been given adequate time and cash to build the team for a World Series run.
Well, everything's changing. The rules have changed. Tom Seidler and Eric Grupner used the word accountability when they took over after Peter passed on. If this is not a playoff team, if this thing goes, a couple games and out in October, well, one of the topics on the table then will be, you're going to stay with A.J. Preller or not? I mean, he's had 3 winning seasons in 9+ years. One of them was a COVID season. Maybe I'm taking a lot of heat. People say I'm too negative. Please tell me, in the 9 years that all the decisions have been made by A.J. Preller, we've had 3 months of great baseball, right? That was the time they got into the playoffs, and they upset the Dodgers and went to the NLCS with the Phillies. Those are the only 3 months in 9 years of really dynamic Padre baseball. And yet he still continues to have a job, and he's still got the strengths of a multi-year contract. And you're not willing to hold him accountable? I'm just asking the question. You can root for him. I don't have any problem with how you think about him or how you think about me. But 3 months in 9 years, you can't tell me, cheerleader, that you're satisfied with that.
Well, I'm not, but I mean, I've gone through the dregs of the Padres over the last 2 or 3 decades, and I know over the last like two seasons they're like even Steven 500, which is amazing. But Peter Seidler said AJ Preller is excellence. Yep. That's what he said. That was his quote. So I mean, let's just hypothetically say you blow out AJ Preller. Well, what's the new GM going to do? You're locked into all these big deals. You're still going to be stuck in the same situation.
No, I concur, because everybody in the farm system is staggering right now. Rob Snelling, the next pitcher on the chain, is 1-7 with an ERA of 5.82 in AA. 1-7 has totally stalled.
Oh, those are young kids. They're learning their craft.
They're learning their craft, but that's supposed to be the next wave, and that's...
He has to go out there and learn a knuckleball, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we move on.
We move on. Some more Padre comments. And this one is from Viket. Says, what's the story with the Tatis injury? Why is this team so quiet about it?
Well, when he got beamed on the elbow, I thought, holy cow, that looks like a fracture, because he took a 97-mile-an-hour pitch right on the padded elbow. They say it's a deep bruise. The bigger injury, I think, is the quad injury. And those things don't heal. That takes time. And you don't want him going out there and aggravating it or tearing it. So that's the biggest issue with Tatis is I think their grave concern about, can we rehab this quad? Now, maybe he has to go on the deal. And you can put him on the deal retroactive. So, if he's missed 5 days already, that's 5 days that counts. And let him do the intensive therapy. So we'll find out. Maybe he winds up on the disabled list sometime this week, and you can spin it back that he doesn't serve all 10 or all 15 days. But that's a big issue. And you watch Manny's gait. Manny's not 100%. There are some stretches he runs hard. Other stretches he does not. So they are what they are. They're dinged up, and you got the Darvish situation and the Musgrove situation. They don't have depth now. They luckily Cronenworth has been just rock solid, and Jackson Merrill is he's hotter than the 111 degrees in my driveway right now. He's done well. But, once they get through Washington, they go back on the road. They got a 9-game roadie, and they go play first-place Cleveland. They'll go play first-place Baltimore. And, by the way, they get the first-place Dodgers again early week of August. So
they just took 3 out of 4 from the first-place Brewers.
Yeah, the Brewers look like ragtag, though. They don't look like a legitimate first-place team in a rather weak-ass division.
Well, there was one play in one of the Brewers games where there was a ball hit into the right field corner, and you could see Tatis was sort of galloping or hobbling.
It wasn't Tatis going after the ball.
No, it wasn't the same guy.
But he's hurt.
Yeah, so you could tell there's a lot going on. I don't think the Padres have been quiet about it. They just keep rolling him out there because I'm sure he wants to play. He's probably getting a lot of therapy from all the trainers. And they're definitely better with him in the lineup than, putting Tyler Wade in right field.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I don't critique. I mean, the guys that are not playing the way they had to play, Machado and Tatis, that's because they're dinged. And unless you've come back from surgery, you don't know how hard it is for Machado to hit the ball with the power and authority that he used to hit the ball with prior to the elbow surgery. And let's give him space. They got half a season, and the thing is, you just don't want Manny to re-injure the hip, and you don't want Tatis to tear the quad, because that's a real significant injury.
Yeah, big time. Hey, want to go talk social media comments?
Oh, here it comes.
Here it comes. Okay, let's go. Yeah, let's go to the one where people were hating on you, Hacksaw. And this is from Nestor, and he says, I've never liked what you have to say. Always negative. Why don't you help out the club and contribute? Because they wouldn't want you.
So I should just cheerlead irregardless of the failures of the Padres, Nestor. That's what you're saying. You're telling me you want me to lie to you on my podcast. I play devil's advocate. This is my opinion based on the data I have, my opinion on Preller overpaying for virtually all those draft picks and all those international players, and you don't want me to critique where they are. I'll give you a prime example. I like Adrian Morion a lot, the kid that came out of Cuba.
Yeah.
The kid was in Mexico. They signed him to an $11 million deal. But because of the baseball tax rules, they had to pay an $11 million tax. That's a $22 million investment. He is now in his, I think it's his 7th year in the organization, and he's a one-inning pitcher. He's not in the rotation. He's a one-inning pitcher for a $22 million investment. And I should not be critical of that investment? You want me to tell you he's going to the Hall of Fame? Come on now, Nestor. You know, same thing. They paid $14 million to get a Cuban outfielder, Jorge Oña, the same year they got Morion. He's gone. He's out of baseball. AJ gave him $14 million. And I should not hold the general manager accountable for that? Do you know who the ace of the Colorado Rockies pitching staff is now? Calvin Quantrill.
That's right, yeah.
2.82 ERA, Colorado.
Holy crap, that's
and they
good.
overpaid him to get him out of Stanford, got him here, force-fed him, traded him to Cleveland. And virtually anybody that we got in the Quantrill trade, including Josh Naylor, who's become a star in Cleveland, is doing things in Cleveland, first place Cleveland, and the Padres don't have any of those guys here. And Nestor, I should not be critical of that. Come on now. I'm just giving you the facts. These are my opinions on the facts. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do shish goomba, everything is beautiful, kumbayana, podcast, radio. Now, if they do something great, a.k.a. Jackson Merrill, what Preller's been able to find, I'm going to salute him. But in the big picture, Nestor, you've had 3 months of good baseball in 9 years, and you want me to give the general manager a vote of confidence? You're giving the general manager a vote of confidence? Hey, everybody's entitled to an opinion, Nestor. That's mine. You got yours. That's okay. But, pal, I'm not 62 games under 500 like your general manager is in 9 years. Okay, I'm not going to beat up the guy who joined us in Fans Forum. But, hey, thanks for the input. You asked a question. You got an answer. Don't like the answer? Too bad for you.
Well, this isn't the Padres flagship radio station, so you're free to say what you want. And, you know, hanging out with you praise the Padres when they deserve praise, and you're critical of them, and you keep repeating, 9 years, just everything but except a 3-month run. Yeah, there's a lot to criticize. And I agree with you. Morejon, why isn't Morejon being groomed to be a starter?
Well, he should be now because he's finally healthy. He had a lot of injuries. His first 4 years, I think he had 5 different arm injuries in the minors. Now he's finally healthy, and I think he's matured, and I think they've taught him how to pitch. Dude should probably be in the rotation. I mean, even if he pitches 4 innings and Randy Vasquez pitches 3 or 4 innings, use them. They're so short-staffed in the rotation instead of this one inning per outing guy for a guy that you gave $22 million to.
Yeah, and he's actually done quite well this year. So it's good to see him kind of performing. But remember, he was in the rotation like 3 or 4 years ago, and then he had Tommy John surgery. He's just been cursed.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, Ryan Weathers, there's a whole collection of group. The guys who are here that they gave up on or weren't patient enough or got hurt in some cases, but just talking about the topics on the table, that's how I read it. Nestor, great to have you with us. We'll talk more. I'm sure we'll argue more. Go ahead, John.
Okay, let's get another Lakers comment. This is from Last Name Dad. He says, I'm not an NBA guy, but a SoCal guy is a Lakers fan. I'm always wondering, as a very casual fan, how does Jeannie Buss get away with what she does?
I don't know that anybody holds her accountable, and it is her organization. I mean, you just think, you go to Crypt.com Arena, and there's 17 banners of greatness and all the retired jerseys and just phenomenal tradition. And now we're talking about everybody getting excited. Gee, do you think the Lakers, John, can be a play-in team this year and finish in 9th place? I mean, Laker basketball's greatness has been replaced by mediocrity, and that's the way I view it. Nobody holds her accountable. She is the decision maker with her cadre of consultants around her. Everybody's screeching. We hired J.J. Redick, no coaching experience. Well, they hired the general manager, Rob Pelinka, who is, quote, a former player agent. What's his background? And 33 player acquisitions later over a 4-year window. Oh, geez, we made the playoffs with the 9th team in the play-in. That's what Laker basketball has become. So I don't think she's going to sell the team unless this whole thing craters. And they're going to work real hard to make sure it doesn't.
See, my theory is that she's the daughter of Jerry Buss, so she's going to get a lot of love, because the Laker fans rightfully love Dr. Buss.
Sure.
But it is interesting. We're always ragging on Artie Moreno. We're always ragging on a lot of other owners, but Jeannie Buss gets a pass.
Right now she does, but I mean, if LeBron opts out and leaves, what would happen to the franchise if LeBron ruptured an Achilles tendon at age 39 and could not play the whole season?
Game over for that guy.
Lottery, baby.
Yeah.
You know, that'd be a 26-win season. Laker fan, would you like to have a 26-win team? Jeez. But she's not been held accountable yet. Maybe that's coming.
Okay, let's go here and talk a little NFL with the Chargers. This is from Matt. He says, Lee, we have more complete football team and more depth than we've had in a long time.
You're optimistic based on what's on this piece of paper. Okay? I understand that. That's what being a fan is. Look at my depth chart. Look at whom we drafted, etc. But they have yet to do it. And as we go to the opening of camp in a month, Matt, the only thing I can ask you, do you have anybody on your roster who's caught 100 balls in a season, a.k.a. what Keenan Allen and Mike Williams did? Do you have anybody that represents what Antonio Gates used to be in terms of pass receptions at tight end? Do you have anybody that has 1,800 or 2,100 all-purpose yards like Austin Eckler had? No. You got the kid quarterback, and you got a bunch of names on paper that you hope are going to pan out. Now, I do like their offensive line. They got 3 number 1 draft picks. I got into an argument with a Raider guy who's saying, our roster is better than yours. I said, you're so full of crap. It's unbelievable. I said, who's your quarterback? Are they equal to Justin Herbert? Come on now. Now, I grant you got a really good defensive line led by Mad Max Crosby. You got any linebackers? You got any Pro Bowlers in your secondary? You don't have Derwin James, do you? No, but that's fans being fans, and that's all on paper and looks good. So until they've done it, you're going to have to sales pitch me hard that they've arrived. Now, Harbaugh's special. There's no doubt he's won everywhere he's been. But he's not at Michigan, where he's got 7 number 1 draft picks on his roster on the field. He's with the Bolts, where they had 1 number 1 pick in John Alt. And I hope the kid wide receiver, McConkey, is going to be a star. Until you've done it in a 17-game schedule, I just think you have to withhold your enthusiasm. But you're a fan, so I grant you that opportunity. But you and I don't quite agree about their depth right now until they prove it in September and October, and then we'll talk more about it. I do like Justin Herbert, and at the end of the day, I'm the one that coined the phrase, Justin Herbert, 17-0. Hope it happens. Dean Spanos, hope you're 0-17.
That makes no sense. So, yeah, Raider fans still thinks Lester Hayes is in the defensive backfield, right? Raider fans, you got to love them. They're loyal to their team, and I appreciate that. But I think that there's a chance here that Jim Harbaugh might have the secret stuff, the secret sauce, because wherever he's gone, he's had a lot of success.
And he's built it. He's built it with toughness. I mean, Stanford may have gotten smart guys. They didn't get studs. Well, by the time they got to the finish line, he had studs at Stanford. And obviously he went in and he changed 49er football. And he went in, and what a job he did at Michigan, because they were kind of down and out. And within 2 or 3 years, they reinvented Michigan football. But that's having lots of number 1 draft picks, access to those type kids at Michigan or at Stanford. The NFL is a little bit different set of circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be great to watch them this season.
Sure.
The Rams, Chargers, which team is ahead of the other?
Oh, I think the Rams right now, but the Chargers obviously have the enthusiasm, and this guy's got a track record, and we'll see how this guy's track record works and how quickly they can get these young guys to be really good. I mean, at the end of the day, you had a proven come out. I have a philosophy. You don't get rid of talent, a.k.a. Austin Eckler, unless you got talent to replace him. Well, they went out and they got Gus Edwards, power back, Baltimore, injury history. J.K. Dobbins, third down back, Baltimore, real injury history. Those are the guys they're bringing in to replace my guy, Austin Eckler. I don't know. That to me is an awful big reach, awful big gamble. You had a proven commodity and didn't want to pay him and you let him go. You're going to try something different. Fascinating.
Did the Chargers get any running backs in the draft?
They drafted they do have a third back that they drafted, and the fourth back is Isaiah Spiller, kid out of Texas A&M, who had a really good college career, but he's just been a backup and he hasn't shown much because he hasn't had much chance. So the third back will be in rotation, but I mean the heavy-duty guy is going to be Gus Edwards, and then J.K. Dobbins will be the third down back. But both those guys have a significant amount of injury history on their resume.
And that's what Harbaugh wants, is that power running game.
Yep.
And you got all your eggs in that one basket of Gus Edwards, and then if he gets hurt, then what?
No, then you have a very different offense. But they do have 3 number ones. I like their offensive line and the potential of their offensive line. But until you've done it, you haven't done it.
You haven't done it. Okay. All right. Okay, let's get a comment here. It's kind of a crazy comment about golf. This is from Thrill House. He says, how about better TV coverage, innovation with cameras, drones, microphones, better courses like Whistling Straits, better dress codes? Golfers look so dorky.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because Bryson DeChambeau lost his mind this weekend in Nashville, aside from bar hopping with the U.S. Open trophy and going to every pub while he was honky-tonking. He was so pissed yesterday in the final round of LIV Nashville because he's getting ready to putt, getting ready to shoot, and people are yakking and screaming, and there's a drone that flies over him as he's bringing the club back to putt. And he totally botched the putt. He just looked up in the sky, and he's screeching. Said, why are people doing this? Well, it's the LIV where nobody gives a crap about history or what's right or wrong or how you handle yourself on the greens. They created a different aura. It's like Saturday Night Live golf. So there it is. So now it's odd that Thrill brings that up, because here's DeChambeau, who's won all this money over there, and now he's peeved about the ambiance while he's trying to make a 14-foot putt, to climb back to the top of the leaderboard. So and nobody's watching the tournament. I texted you. I watched a bunch of holes in the LIV as I was going back and forth between that and the Travelers. And they're on the 17th green in the final 2 groups of the LIV. I counted, there were 12 fans around the green.
12
on the 17th green.
Unbelievable.
And then they went to 18. And, John Rahm and DeChambeau were part of the group that were chasing the leaders, didn't get there. On the 18th, there might have been 100 people total on the 18th green in Nashville, some standing, some in a skybox, maybe 100, compared to what Scheffler and Kim were playing in the final hole at the Travelers in Connecticut.
Yeah, not counting the protesters, of course. But I generally agree with Thrill here about having more innovation in the way they cover the game. And it does remind me a little bit about that Tommy Lasorda line. You remember that one where they were asking what's the hardest thing to do in sports, and someone said hit a golf ball, and Lasorda's like, that's the stupidest thing in the world. You got a ball on a tee, it's not moving, and everyone's quiet. Try being in a stadium with 50,000 people screaming and a guy throwing 100 miles at your head. So golf is just too
stoic.
Yeah, stoic, conservative, what have you. And yeah, the clothing that they wear, I mean, they've come a long ways, but it would be nice to have a little more entertaining things to look at when they're playing golf.
At least we buy some tickets, go to the LIV. We'll get to stand on the 17th green with 12 other people, because nobody's going to the tournaments, and surely nobody's watching it.
That's a good view from there.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we hope you have enjoyed our Monday Bonus podcast. It is so cool what you're doing with Fans Forum. One of these days, what we're going to do is we're going to for one day, we'll change the format. And all we'll do will be take input on Fans Forum. We won't have many topics on the table. We'll just let you drive this thing. Just don't drive it off the road into the ground. But listen, we hope you've enjoyed what we're doing. Monday Bonus Podcast, our regular Thursday podcast at 1 o'clock. Our podcast is brought to you by DIXIELINE Lumber and Home Centers, 9 stores to serve you in San Diego, and by North County Eye Center, offering free vision tests to all of our viewers. Just call them at North County and say, Hacksaw sent me. John, have yourself a great week. We will see you come Thursday. Got some fireworks planned because I'm going to be on the road Thursday. I'm not going to Ireland like you did, but we're gonna do a 2-city, 2-state, 2-country podcast Thursday. So we'll look forward to that.
Looking forward to that, and Game 7 tonight. It's going to be great.
Go Oilers. And by the way, we got the NBA draft, and we'll have the NHL draft that'll be starting all part of Thursday's podcast. Thanks for being with us on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast app.
Touchdown, San Diego!
For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.